What if the person who left wasn't meant to stay? What if their departure wasn't a punishment, but a necessary shift, clearing space for what's next? Think about it. How many times have you begged for things to work out, only to find out later that letting go was the greatest gift you never asked for? What if God's no was really a setup for something greater, a redirection, not a rejection? When people walk away, it's easy to feel abandoned, to question your worth, to wonder what went wrong. But here's the truth. Their exit is often an act of protection, not rejection. They were part of your journey, but not your destination. Holding on to people who are no longer meant for your future will only keep you stuck. It's like gripping a branch on a tree that's already fallen. There's no life left in it. Separation hurts, yes, but it also heals. It opens the door to the next chapter. Every departure is a step toward clarity, alignment, and growth. Stop chasing what's behind you. Start walking toward what's ahead. Every loss is a setup for your next level, if you're willing to embrace it. What if rejection wasn't meant to break you, but to build you? What if every closed door was God's way of guiding you towards something better? See, God is like a master builder, tearing down what's shaky to rebuild something unshakable. When you feel like everything is falling apart, maybe it's really falling into place. Think about Joseph in the Bible. His brothers sold him into slavery, betrayed him, left him for dead. In that moment, it looked like his life was over. But that rejection, it became the key to his destiny. He went from the pit to the palace, from forgotten to favored. What looked like the end was really the beginning of his greatest blessing. Sometimes God's no is the best thing that can happen to you. He's not holding you back, He's setting you up. You may not see it yet, but trust the process. Every detour, every delay, every disappointment is shaping something greater in you. Don't curse the storm, it's clearing the path. Hold on, trust the process. The redirection is leading you right where you need to be. We all have things we hold on to. Old relationships, past dreams, comfort zones. But clinging to what's familiar can blind you to the future that's waiting. Imagine trying to climb a mountain while dragging a heavy suitcase behind you. You can't reach the top unless you let go of what's weighing you down. I knew someone who stayed in the same job for years, afraid to leave, afraid of change. The paycheck was predictable, but their potential was locked away. It wasn't until they let go that doors started to open, new opportunities, new growth, new life. Holding on to what's safe may feel comforting, but it's also limiting. The future can't begin until you stop gripping the past. Open your hands. Release what's no longer serving you. Sometimes the very thing you're clinging to is the thing blocking your breakthrough. Letting go feels like loss, but often it's the first step toward greater gain. Think of it like a seed. A seed can't grow until it's buried and left alone for a while. In the darkness, it transforms, quietly breaking open, pushing through the soil until it blooms into something new. What are you holding on to that's weighing you down? A toxic relationship? An old dream that no longer fits who you've become? Sometimes we cling to the very things that are keeping us stuck. But when you let go, you make space for what's meant to grow. Remember this. The blessing is in the release. The hardest goodbyes often lead to the greatest breakthroughs. Trust that what's on the other side of letting go is far greater than anything you're leaving behind. Let it go and watch what God brings into your life next. Not every door is meant to stay open. Sometimes God closes it because He knows what's on the other side isn't for you. So how do you know when it's time to walk away? Trust your intuition. God often speaks through the quiet voice of peace. If something feels forced, exhausting, or full of confusion, that's a sign. Pay attention to your circumstances. When opportunities keep falling through, maybe God is redirecting you. Stop knocking on the same closed door. Trust that if it didn't open, it wasn't meant for you. His plans are greater than your persistence. You're not being punished, you're being prepared. Every closed door, every setback, every unanswered prayer is refining you for what's next. The best is yet to come, but you have to believe it. Let go of what's weighing you down and make space for what God has been preparing all along. Start releasing what's not meant for you. Surrender the things you've been holding onto with a tight grip. Trust His timing and watch what happens. New doors will open, new opportunities will appear. When you trust the process, you'll realize the best was never behind you. it's still ahead. Why does separation feel so personal? Why does it sting so much when things or people are taken from our lives? It's because we get attached. We find comfort in the familiar, even when it no longer serves us. Our routines, our relationships, our identity become woven into the world we know. So when something is removed, it feels like rejection. It feels like punishment. But what if it's something else entirely? Separation is not rejection. It's redirection. Think of it like pruning a tree. Pruning feels harsh. Branches are cut away, the tree looks bare and exposed. But the pruning isn't to harm it, it's to help it grow stronger. The dead parts have to go to make room for new growth. It's the same in your life. Sometimes what feels like loss is really a step towards something better, something stronger. But separation clears the way for something better, something stronger. But in the moment, it's hard to see. You just feel the cut. You feel the space that's left behind. What if you stopped seeing separation as rejection and started seeing it as preparation? You're not being torn down, you're being rebuilt. Stronger, wiser, ready for what's next. It's not rejection, it's redirection. It's not the end, it's the beginning. When things fall apart, it's easy to feel like life is punishing you. The plans you had, the dreams you were holding on to, they slip through your fingers. But what if it's not punishment? What if it's preparation? What if every closed door is positioning you for something greater? Look at Oprah Winfrey. Early in her career, she was fired from her job as a television reporter. They told her she wasn't fit for TV. Imagine how that must have felt. Humiliated, questioning her purpose. But that failure was the beginning of everything. It redirected her toward what she was truly meant to do, launching her into a career that changed millions of lives. That rejection wasn't the end. It was the doorway to her destiny. The same is true for you. God's timing doesn't always align with your plans, but it's always perfect. When things don't work out the way you hoped, it's not because you're being forgotten or left behind. It's because you're being prepared for something better. The setback is part of the setup. So when the door closes, stop asking, why me, and start saying, what's next? It's not rejection, it's redirection. It's not the end, it's the beginning. Trust the process. What if the very thing you're resisting is the key to your next breakthrough? We all run from pain, it's natural. But what if pain isn't something to fear? What if it's a sign that you're growing? The problem is we get stuck asking, why is this happening to me? Instead, try asking, what can this teach me? That's where transformation begins. Think of a caterpillar. The process of turning into a butterfly is messy, even painful. It doesn't just wake up one day with wings. It struggles. It breaks down before it breaks through. But on the other side of that struggle is something beautiful. Your pain is no different. Growth doesn't happen when everything is comfortable and easy. It happens when you're stretched, when life forces you to step into something new. That discomfort? It's a sign that you're on the edge of something bigger. You're being shaped, refined, and strengthened for the next chapter. So, don't resist the struggle. Lean into it. There's growth hidden in the pain, and on the other side is a version of you that's stronger, wiser, and more capable than you ever imagined. Staying where it's comfortable may feel safe, but nothing grows there. You can't step into your calling while clinging to your comfort zone. The two can't coexist. Transformation often comes disguised as loss. What feels like everything falling apart is really everything falling into place. The hardest part is trusting that truth when you're in the middle of it. God doesn't close doors to punish you. He closes them to move you. If He left those doors open, you'd settle. You'd stay where it's comfortable, never realizing that there's something far greater waiting for you. Imagine standing in a hallway, holding onto a door that's been shut for good. You keep knocking, begging it to open again. But that closed door is God's way of saying, it's time to move on. Behind the next door is everything you've been praying for, but you'll never see it if you stay stuck. Your calling is bigger than your comfort zone. It requires you to let go of what's familiar and step into the unknown. Yes, it's scary. Yes, it's uncomfortable. But that's where growth happens. That's where purpose is found. Let go. Move forward. Your calling is waiting. Every no is leading you closer to the right yes. Rejection feels personal, like life is shutting you down. But rejection is often redirection, pointing you towards something better. What if that closed door wasn't meant to hurt you, but to protect you? Every setback is a setup for something greater. When something ends, don't fight it. Resist the urge to cling to what's slipping away. Instead, pause and ask yourself, what new door is opening? Pay attention to the signs around you. Sometimes, what feels like a loss is really an invitation to step into something new. Reframing rejection as redirection changes everything. It allows you to move with life instead of fighting it. So when life says no, trust that it's clearing the way for the right yes. That shift in perspective can turn your disappointment into the fuel for your next breakthrough. Delays aren't denials, they're divine preparation. It's hard to trust the timing when everything feels delayed. You see others moving forward while you're stuck waiting, but God's timing isn't random, it's intentional. Think of the bamboo plant. For years it grows underground, building strong roots. Then, almost overnight, it shoots up to 90 feet tall. Your journey is no different. What feels like a delay is actually God strengthening your foundation, preparing you for what's next. If He gave you everything right now, you might not be ready to handle it. Trust the process. Trust the waiting. It's in the quiet seasons that your greatest growth happens. When the time is right, everything will come together, quickly and powerfully. Until then, stay patient and keep believing. God's timing is never late. Don't fear the breaking, it's preparing you for your breakthrough. Breaking moments feel like they'll break you. It's the job loss, the relationship ending, the unexpected disappointment. But those moments are the birthplace of transformation. Before every breakthrough, there's a breaking. Not to destroy you, but to rebuild you into something stronger. Think about it. Seeds must break open before they grow. Muscles tear before they strengthen. Diamonds are formed under extreme pressure. Your life works the same way. The breaking isn't the end, it's the beginning. Let go of what's not meant for you so you can receive what's already waiting for you. The breakthrough is on the other side of your pain, but you have to trust the process. Keep moving forward. Don't give up now. Your breakthrough is closer than you think. The truth is, you won't always understand what God is doing, and that's okay. You pray, you plan, and sometimes nothing turns out the way you expect. But here's the thing. Certainty isn't the foundation of faith. Trust is. Faith begins exactly where certainty ends. It's in those moments when the answers aren't clear, when the future feels like a question mark, that your trust is being built. Think of your life like a puzzle. You're holding one small piece, staring at it, trying to figure out how it fits. But God, He holds the full picture. He knows exactly where that piece belongs. What feels like confusion to you is simply part of a bigger masterpiece that's still being created. You may not understand it today, but trust that every piece, every struggle, every delay, every unexpected turn has a purpose. This is where growth happens, in the gap between what you know and what you don't. Trusting God means stepping forward, even when you don't have all the answers. It means believing that He's working behind the scenes, putting every piece into place. And when the picture finally comes together, you'll realize it was worth every uncertain step. You don't need to know every step. You just need to trust the one holding the brush. We live in a world that craves certainty. We want every detail mapped out before we move, but that's not how faith works. If you wait for the full picture, you'll never take the first step. Real growth happens in the unknown. Clarity doesn't come before obedience, it comes after. Think about it like this. An artist never reveals the masterpiece until it's finished. Imagine watching each stroke of the brush, confused about where it's going. You might question the process, thinking, this doesn't make sense. But the artist knows exactly what they're creating. Every stroke has a purpose, even if it seems random at first. There's a story of a woman who lost her job and thought it was the end of everything she'd worked for. But in that moment of uncertainty, she leaned into faith. She didn't see the full picture, but she took the next step. That step led her to a new path, one that became her breakthrough. So stop waiting for perfect clarity. Trust that the brush is in God's hands, and each stroke is building something far greater than you can imagine. What are you still trying to control that you need to release? We all have something, whether it's a plan, a relationship, or a specific outcome. We grip it tightly because we believe that if we just hold on long enough, everything will fall into place. But the harder we hold on, the more anxiety we create. The truth is, control is an illusion. We think it brings security, but in reality, it only traps us. Letting go isn't about giving up. It's about freeing yourself from the weight you were never meant to carry. Imagine trying to climb a mountain with a backpack full of rocks. Every step feels heavy, almost impossible. But when you start removing those rocks, you begin to move freely. That's what happens when you release control. God never asked you to figure everything out on your own. He's already preparing something better, but you can't receive it with clenched fists. Let go of what's weighing you down, whether it's fear, resentment, or the need to control every outcome. It's time to trust that what's ahead is far greater than what you're leaving behind. Letting go isn't the end. It's the beginning of your freedom. Growth rarely happens in comfort. It happens in the moments when you're unsure, unprepared, and stretched beyond what feels possible. But isn't that how life works? Just like seeds must be buried in darkness before they bloom, your greatest growth often comes in seasons of uncertainty. At first it feels isolating. You wonder if anything good can come out of the unknown. But beneath the surface, something powerful is taking root. Think about a seed underground. It's hidden, buried in dirt, surrounded by darkness. To an outsider, it looks like nothing is happening. But beneath the surface, it's pushing, growing, and breaking through. Eventually, it becomes something beautiful. You are that seed. The unknown is your growth ground. It's where your strength is tested, your faith is stretched, and your character is built. It's uncomfortable, yes, but discomfort is a sign that transformation is near. So don't fear the unknown. Embrace it. Trust that even in the silence, even in the waiting, something is growing within you. The very place you feel lost may be the place you find your breakthrough. Growth is already happening. You just can't see it yet. Faith isn't about having all the answers. It's about taking the next step, even when you can't see the full path. It's easy to trust when everything is clear, but real faith shows up in the fog, in the uncertainty, when the next step feels risky. Every small step taken in faith brings you closer to what God is preparing for you. Think of a hiker climbing through dense fog. The summit is hidden and the trail ahead is unclear. But they take one step, then another. Slowly the fog begins to lift, revealing the view they were chasing all along. That's how faith works. You won't always see the full picture, but if you trust the process and keep moving, clarity will come. There's a story of a woman who lost her job unexpectedly. At first she was devastated, but instead of giving up, she prayed and kept moving. She applied for new opportunities even when doors kept closing. Finally, one opened, a position far better than what she had lost. Looking back, she realized every step, every delay was leading her to something greater. So keep moving. Don't stop just because the road ahead is unclear. The breakthrough is always waiting beyond your next step. Confusion isn't a sign that you're lost. It's often proof that you're growing. When you're stepping into something new, doubt and discomfort are natural. Growth stretches you, pulls you out of what's familiar and into what's possible. If everything feels uncertain right now, don't panic. This is part of the process. Think about it. When a caterpillar transforms into a butterfly, there's a moment when it's neither one nor the other. It's caught between what it was and what it's becoming. That's where real transformation happens. And that's exactly where you are. Sometimes the greatest breakthroughs happen after the hardest moments. When it feels like everything is falling apart, it's often falling into place. Hold on. The confusion, the waiting, the struggle, it's shaping you into something stronger, preparing you for what's next. You're not lost, you're evolving. Keep moving forward. Trust doesn't make the process easier, it makes the outcome greater. You may not understand the why right now, but trust that God's plan is always better than your own. Even in the silence, even in the waiting, He's working behind the scenes in ways you can't imagine. Think of every closed door as a redirect, not a rejection. What feels like a setback might be a setup for something bigger. When you trust, you free yourself from the weight of control and allow God to do what only He can do. Trust isn't passive, it's powerful. It's the decision to move forward in faith, even when fear is whispering in your ear. Release your fears, lean into faith. God's best is still ahead. Trust the process, Trust the timing and trust the one who holds your future. Watch how everything unfolds in ways you never expected. Sometimes the people God removes were only meant for a season, not a lifetime. You see, we hold on because we think what we had was the best it could ever be. But what if God wasn't taking something away from you? He was preparing you for something greater. I know it feels like everything is falling apart. The relationship ended, the job slipped through your fingers, the dream you had suddenly seems out of reach. But what if you didn't lose it? What if God was repositioning you? You thought you lost everything, but maybe God closed that door because He saw what you couldn't see. He knew that staying where you were would have limited you. Letting go isn't failure, it's faith. It's trusting that what's ahead is better than what's behind. Think about a tree in winter. The branches look bare and lifeless, but that's not death. It's preparation for new growth. The leaves had to fall so something stronger could grow in their place. That's your life right now. The letting go isn't the end. It's the key to unlocking your next chapter. Trust the process. Release what's not meant to stay and watch what God brings into your life next. Every separation carries a lesson, but the question is, are you willing to see it? It's easy to focus on the pain, to replay what happened over and over, asking why things had to change. But what if, instead of asking why, you asked, what did this experience teach me about myself? About my strength? About my purpose? Every loss is a teacher. Some lessons are wrapped in disappointment, others in heartbreak. But no matter the form, each one reveals something that needs to grow or change. Maybe it showed you how strong you really are. Maybe it pushed you to stop settling for less than you deserve. Or maybe it opened your eyes to the fact that God's plan is far bigger than the life you were clinging to. Loss feels like the end, but if you look closer, it's often the beginning of something greater. Think about it. Every major transformation in your life likely came after something ended. A job, a relationship, a season. It's not a dead end, it's a redirection. Don't miss the lesson in your loss. It's pointing you toward the version of yourself you're meant to become. When life knocks you down, it's easy to get stuck in the pain, replaying what happened over and over. But the way forward always begins with 3 steps: reflect, release, and renew. First, reflect. Take an honest look at your experience. What did it teach you about your boundaries, your resilience, or even the parts of you that need to heal? Reflection isn't about blame, it's about clarity. It helps you understand why certain things had to fall apart so something better could come together. Next, release. Let go of the anger, the bitterness, and the resentment. Those emotions only weigh you down. You can't grab hold of your future while you're clinging to the past. Trust God's plan, even when it doesn't make sense right now. Every moment you release what no longer serves you, you make room for something far greater. Finally, renew. This is where you shift your focus forward. Stop rehearsing old battles in your mind. What's behind you is done. Renew your commitment to what lies ahead. God's plan is always bigger than your disappointment. Your best days aren't behind you, they're still unfolding. Reflect, release, renew. These aren't just steps, they're a mindset. They help you walk boldly into the life God has been preparing for you all along. Take them one at a time and watch how your life begins to shift. Letting go feels like losing, but it's not. It's about making space for something greater. The people who are meant for you will stay. The ones who leave, they were never part of your destiny. Sometimes God has to prune your life to make room for new growth. Just like a gardener cuts back branches to help a tree thrive, there are seasons when things are removed from your life. Not to hurt you, but to prepare you. When you hold on too tightly to what's familiar, you block the blessings waiting to reach you. Reframe your mindset. Letting go isn't a loss. It's a sign that something better is coming. Trust that God is clearing space for what's truly meant for you. You won't always understand it right away, and that's okay. Growth rarely makes sense while it's happening. But if you stay open, you'll see how every shift is part of a bigger plan. Remember, what's for you will always find you. Trust that. Let go with grace and get ready to receive the new doors God is about to open. I once heard the story of a woman who lost everything she thought defined her. A career she built over 20 years, a relationship she believed was her future, and the sense of security she clung to for so long. It felt like her world crumbled all at once. At first she fought to hold on, she begged for answers, questioned why it was all slipping away, and struggled to see the bigger picture. But something happened the moment she surrendered it all to God. Slowly, peace began to replace the chaos. She started focusing not on what she lost, but on what remained. Her faith, her strength, her ability to rebuild. Each day brought a little more clarity, and soon she discovered her true purpose had nothing to do with what she thought she needed. Trusting God through the process wasn't easy, but it led her to something far greater. She found peace, not in control, but in release. Purpose wasn't in holding on, it was in trusting the journey. The things you release today will make room for the blessings of tomorrow. Let go. Trust that God is preparing something far beyond what you can imagine. Goodbyes are hard, but hidden within every ending is a blessing waiting to be revealed. What feels like a setback is often a setup for something better. Think back to the doors that closed in your life. Maybe it was a relationship that ended, or an opportunity that slipped away. In the moment, it felt like everything was falling apart, but looking back, wasn't it the very thing that led you to where you are now? God never takes something away without a reason. Sometimes He removes things to protect you. Other times He does it to promote you. Every goodbye carries a lesson, and every lesson builds the strength you need for what's next. Be grateful for the lessons. Be grateful for the growth. Trust that every goodbye is God's way of leading you to something greater. It's time to release what's been holding you back and step into the next chapter God has prepared for you. You've held on long enough. Now it's time to trust His timing. What's ahead is far greater than what you've left behind. Your best days are not behind you. They're just beginning. The pain, the loss, the confusion, it wasn't wasted, it was preparation. Trust the process. Trust God's timing. Your next chapter is waiting, and it's filled with blessings beyond your imagination. The best is yet to come. Go forward boldly and don't look back. Your life is a journey, and you can't reach the mountaintop if you're clinging to the valley. Too often we stay stuck because it feels safe. We hold on to the familiar, even when it's no longer serving us. But standing still won't get you where you're meant to be. Every step forward requires courage, and every season of separation is setting you up for something greater. Sometimes God removes people, opportunities, or comforts to push you toward a new path. It may not feel like progress at first, but every detour has a purpose. The question is, are you ready to move forward? The mountaintop is waiting for you, but you can't carry the weight of the past with you. Let go. Trust the journey. Keep moving and watch how God transforms every step into something greater. Faith is the bridge between where you are and where you're meant to be. You don't need to know every step of the journey. You just need to trust the next one. The problem is, too many of us walk in fear, shrinking our world with every doubt and hesitation. But when you walk in faith, everything expands. Doors open where you thought there were none. New opportunities appear out of nowhere. That's what happens when you trust God's process. So, what's holding you back from trusting the process? Fear is loud, but faith is stronger. Take the next step. Not because you can see the whole path, but because you know who's guiding you. Walk in faith, and watch how your confidence grows with every step. Not every closed door is a loss. Sometimes it's protection. The job that didn't work out, the relationship that ended. What if it wasn't rejection, but redirection? Stop resisting, stop doubting, start trusting. God's purpose is always bigger than the pain you feel right now. The process may be uncomfortable, but it's shaping you, refining you, and preparing you for something far greater. The more you fight the process, the harder it becomes to move forward. Surrender doesn't mean giving up, it means giving control back to God. Trust that the detour you're on has a purpose. Trust that the delay is part of the preparation. When you stop fighting and start trusting, you'll discover the strength and peace you've been searching for all along. It's time to take action. The first step? Reflect. What do you need to release in this season? Take a moment to ask yourself, what's holding me back from where God wants to take me? Be honest. The weight you carry can't go with you into your next chapter. Now write it down. There's power in putting it on paper. What are you ready to let go of? Is it fear? Bitterness? Disappointment? Write it down. And as you do, make a commitment to release it. Next, pray for clarity. Ask God for the wisdom to show you what's truly meant for you and what needs to be left behind. He's not a God of confusion. He'll reveal it to you if you seek Him. Finally, take one step. Just one. Small steps create big momentum. Don't wait for the perfect moment, because it'll never come. Every decision shapes your future. Every step matters. Start small, but stay consistent. Trust that God will meet you on the path as you move forward with bold faith. You are one decision away from changing everything. Every moment is a new chance to shift your direction, rewrite your story, and step into the life God has for you. It doesn't happen all at once. Transformation is built on small, consistent steps. Choices made daily that lead to lasting change. The power is in your hands. You can stay in the same story, reliving the same struggles, or you can write a new chapter. One decision at a time, one step at a time. The difference between staying stuck and stepping into your purpose is found in your choices. So today, choose to rise. Choose to believe that God's promises are bigger than your past. You've been given the pen, now it's time to write the story God intended for you. It's time to trust God, trust the process, and step boldly into your next season. Everything you've been through has prepared you for this moment. The closed doors, the setbacks, the lessons, they were all shaping you for what's next. The future you've been praying for starts with the steps you take today. Walk with confidence, let go of fear. God's plan is already in motion. All He needs is your yes. Your next season is waiting, but it starts with you. So take that step and watch how everything changes. You've been holding on to what's breaking you. It's time to let it go. You've carried this weight for far too long, hoping things would change, waiting for the breakthrough. But holding on has only drained your strength and blurred your vision. The longer you cling to what's already gone, the harder it becomes to move forward. Every moment you hold on is a moment lost from what's ahead. Every tear shed over the past keeps you from the joy waiting in your future. The weight you're carrying isn't yours to bear anymore. Release it. Stop carrying what God never intended for you to hold. This is your moment of freedom. The first step is letting go. Not because it's easy, but because your soul needs to breathe again. Trust that what's meant for you is already on its way. But you have to make space for it. God doesn't take anything away without giving something greater in return. You may not see it now, but there's a bigger plan unfolding. What feels like a loss is often a redirection. You see a closed door, God sees a new beginning. What you think is rejection is often His protection. Stop clinging to what's leaving. Trust the purpose behind the change. When God removes people or situations from your life, it's not to punish you, it's to prepare you for something better. Don't fight it, trust it. This is a test of your faith. Will you hold on to what's comfortable, or will you step into what God is calling you toward? Trust that His plan is greater than your disappointment. Trust that He's working behind the scenes, shifting things in your favor. You just have to keep moving forward. You're not stuck. You've just stopped believing in yourself. Life has thrown its share of setbacks at you, and somewhere along the way you started to doubt your strength. But listen, you haven't lost your power. It's still there, waiting for you to remember it. The circumstances you're facing are not stronger than the fire inside you. You've survived too much to give up now. You were made to overcome this. Your strength never left you. It's just been buried under the weight of fear and disappointment. So ask yourself, what would your life look like if you believed in your power again? What could you accomplish if you stopped holding back and started moving forward with boldness? You don't need anyone's permission to step into your purpose. You've always had everything you need. The power is already within you. Now it's time to own it. Your life is shaped by one decision, fear or faith. Fear will keep you locked in the same patterns, repeating the same story over and over. Faith, however, invites you to step into the unknown, trusting that something greater is waiting on the other side. You can choose fear and stay exactly where you are, or you can choose faith and move toward the life God has prepared for you. Fear will whisper all the reasons why you can't, why it's too risky, why you're not ready. Faith, on the other hand, declares that you are capable, that God has already equipped you for the journey ahead. Choose faith, choose growth, choose freedom. Your future doesn't unfold by accident. It starts with one brave choice, a choice to believe that your life is worth more than your fears. This is your turning point. What will you choose? The past may have shaped you, but it doesn't define you. God's plan for your life is far bigger than anything behind you. It's time to step into it with boldness and faith. Stop waiting for the perfect moment. It will never come. The only moment you have is right now. Don't let fear win. Don't let doubt keep you stuck. Your destiny is calling you. Are you ready to answer it? Think of your life as a journey. Every step you take brings you closer to the future God designed for you. Sometimes the path will be unclear, and other times it'll feel like you're walking in circles. But every step, no matter how small, matters. Every act of faith pushes you forward. Take that first step today, not because you have it all figured out, but because you trust the one who's guiding you. Starting today, make a new choice. Choose faith over fear. Choose growth over comfort. Choose destiny over doubt. Your future is waiting, but it requires you to let go of what's holding you back. It's not easy, but it's worth it. You weren't created to live in fear. You were made to walk in power, purpose, and confidence. So let go. Trust the process. Trust God's plan. Then step boldly into your next season. Your destiny is unfolding right now. The only thing left is for you to rise and claim it.